Laura. Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Thank you. Glad you're here. Everything's going well for you?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you for making time for this last session of the day.
Hello, we're going to get started here. We're going to get started in just 5 seconds.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Marisol Anaya, and I am joined here with Camilo Perez. Hello? Okay, it's me. It's always me. My name is Marisol Anaya. I work for EPA, currently on detail with our border office. And this presentation, I'm going co-lead, Camilo Perez. We are both co-leads in the RTOC Border Work Group. And we will be going through this big presentation. I hope to do it justice. It's trying to fit in a program that's been around for more than 30 years. So I hope to do it justice. I introduced myself. Camilo, would you just like to say a few words?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Any questions you might have, please save them for the end, and we're going to try to answer them to the best of our knowledge. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. So let's start with our border program. I introduced myself. So currently I am on detail, and I am the regional California, Baja California coordinator, as well as the tribal coordinator. And in the audience, I believe we have our manager, Alali Baños, and Lorena Lopez Powers should be online. She wanted to be here, but isn't. And she is the regional coordinator for Arizona, Sonora, and the project officer for grants in the border program. And our final addition to the border program is Anthony Isham. He is our communication and environmental health coordinator. Yay. So, and in this picture, I want to point out that the border program isn't just us in Region 9. It also includes colleagues in Region 6 in the picture. They're pictured there, as well as coordination with headquarters, people in OIDA in the Office of International and Tribal Affairs, and other programs here at EPA, our colleagues in EJ, also pictured. I'm not going to go through everyone in the picture, but they're there. So yes, the border program is housed in our TIP-D, or Tribal Intergovernmental Policy Division. Currently the Border 2025 is in its first iteration of a binational program. It is a program that is working on being more inclusive of all communities across our southern border. Is the sound okay? Okay, thank you. I always need constant reassurance, so thank you. And let's start off with what the border region is. So big fan of maps, so I hope you can see it is a little tiny. It is a big border. The border region between the U.S. and Mexico is considered to be the 62 miles or 100 kilometers north and south of the border, and it expands almost 2,000 miles and separates the two nations. And it is home to around 30 million people who share resources, watersheds, and air basins that transcend political boundaries. Binational pollution impacts both sides of the border and necessitates a coordination response. So to improve and protect the environment and political health, the La Paz Agreement was signed by the governments of Mexico and the United States in 1983, thus providing a foundation for cooperative efforts to address the complex and intertwined environmental issues along the U.S. Mexico border. So building from the La Paz Agreement, the United States Environmental Protection Agency here in the U.S. and Mexico's Secretariat of the Environment and Natural Resources, referred to as Semarnat, have implemented 5 successive binational programs to meet emerging environmental challenges in this dynamic region. Along the entire border, key partners that include 10 states, 27 federally recognized tribes, and local partners have provided leadership and funding to implement projects that advance environmental protection and public health improvements while the population and economic activity have increased. Whew. It's a big mouthful. Next slide. So let's jump into the programs. So yes, it all started with the La Paz Agreement. The U.S. Mexico border, yes, like mentioned, it is led by the U.S. EPA and Mexico's Ministry of Environmental Natural Resources. And this occurred with the signing of the La Paz Agreement in 1983 by Presidents of the U.S. and Mexico, Ronald Reagan and Miguel de la Madrid, that designate EPA and Semarnat as national coordinators. So we administer the U.S. Mexico environmental programs and work closely with federal, state, and tribal partners on both sides of the border, as well as with Region 6 and headquarters. So with the signing of the La Paz Agreement, the program that followed is the Integrated Border Environmental Plan, the IBEP, and it was a 2-year program that spanned from 1992 to 1994. And the key message of that program is it was the first binational program that focused on enhancing environmental regulations and resulted in significant investment in infrastructure along the border. So although much was accomplished during this first program, it was mostly federal to federal, and it included the goal of increasing communication knowledge of regulations and resources to the border, with the goal of including other partners in the development of a comprehensive plan. And that led to the development of Border 21. I think if you space it, it should follow, or push on the space bar, little things kind of jump around. Yes, next. So after the IBEP came Border 21. So this program, it was a 5-year program with 5 geographic regions. It tried to be more inclusive. So it coordinated with the 26 U.S. federally recognized tribes, as well as the 10 states, and included 9 border-wide work groups. Oh, the key message here with this program was to establish a 5-year binational effort to include additional federal partners to achieve its goals. In engaging 10 border states and included U.S. tribes, as well as these efforts to have 40, I think the resulting effort was 40 public meetings to solicit input and identifying local priorities. Border 21 established the 9 work groups that address transboundary environmental issues. While the work groups implemented many pilot projects that benefited communities, the program objectives remained broad in nature. So yes, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. The 9 border-wide work groups, they had multimedia goals and included natural resource, or the theme of addressing natural resources. And yeah, one of the goals or strategies was to build capacity and decentralize environmental management to augment the participation of states and local institutions in implementing Border 21. And ensures the interagency cooperation to maximize resources, not duplicate efforts, and strengthen coordination among multiple entities of the border region. We were still trying to figure things out during this second program. One of the biggest things that did result from Border 21 is the signing of the coordination principles between the Border 21 national coordinators, the U.S. and Mexico border states, and the U.S. tribes for the Border 21 program in May of 1999. So the signing of this document by all parties established principles of coordination for the efforts of developing and implementing the program. So it recognized the active participation of border states and tribes in order to have a successful program. Woo. How are we doing, everyone? Good. Thank you. Thank you for that thumbs up. So with each program, there was this effort to improve and be more inclusive. So after Border 21, we jump into Border 2012. So taking from the efforts to be more inclusive, in this third program, there you saw more of a activity or more participation from tribes in the border region. So Border 2012 was a 10-year program, and included a lot of task forces, 6 goals, as the slide shows, and regional work groups, and it was more of a community-led program. One of the mission statement for this third program was to protect the environment and public health in the U.S. Mexico border region, consistent with the principles of sustainable development. In the picture, this is a project that was funded by the border program, by this border program, Border 2012, and it was awarded to the San Antonio Necua and the CUNA, which is the Natural Cultural Institute of Baja California, to address solid waste issues. And I will let you know right now, I wish there were more pictures to include in these slides, so I'm going to try to be more dynamic, try to keep it integrated. It's a little difficult to go digging into the archives, but hopefully in the future I will be acquire more pictures, so to paint a better picture of the program. Yes, so in this program, the 6 guiding principles were to reduce water contamination, reduce air pollution, reduce land contamination, improve environmental health, reduce exposure to chemicals as a result of accidental chemical releases and acts of terrorism, and improve the environmental performance. Really strong goals and very finite. Yes, this was one of the projects that was funded under this program. There were several others. And there's, I can apologize, don't have the pictures. I believe if we can go to the next slide. Other examples of tribal participation include tribal liaison. So tribal liaisons help facilitate the increase in tribal participation by organizing tribal caucus meetings and assisting in identifying tribal priorities. Development of Border 2012 project proposals. The objectives of the tribal caucuses were to give tribes and indigenous communities an update on the task forces, work groups, and tribal community activities in the U.S. and Mexico, project proposals, and discuss issues. Some liaison positions have been held by staff of the Tohono Nation as well as NAPEC. So they are to blame for the lovely booklets or pictures of the booklets of achievements of tribal accomplishments during the years. The reports talk about the different projects that were funded by the border program via the NAD Bank, the North American Development Bank, as well as the Tribal Border Infrastructure Funding, and even EPA Office of International and Tribal Affairs, OIDA. So during this 10-year-long program, tribes succeeded in obtaining funding through EPA Tribal Border Infrastructure to one of the themes in that was funded was to address increased access to safe drinking water and basic sanitation, which is the picture on the bottom. It's really tiny, but it's a community in San Antonio, Necua, and I believe there was an assessment done to help address and increase access to drinking water. Do apologize, it's a tiny picture. Okay, next slide. Okay, so that was Border 2012. Border 2020 was an 8-year-long program. We just concluded that program at the end of fiscal year 2020 and wrapped that all up in 2021. It was an 8-year-long program that included 4 regional work groups, 20 task forces, and 5 goals. Um, the 5 goals focused on reducing air pollution, improving access to clean and safe water, promoted materials and waste management and clean sites, as well as enhanced joint preparedness for environmental response and compliance assessment assurance and environmental stewardship. So this new program differed a little bit from the previous program. We did see a little less of that energy that was in Border 2012 when it comes to tribal involvement. But with every program, we learn a little bit more so that we can improve and be better. So next slide. This is a little bit of the structure of what Border 2012 was. You have your national coordinators, which manage overall program implementation and ensure cooperation, coordination, and communication among all the coordinating bodies. The policy fora focused on border-wide and multi-regional issues, primary federal in nature, and the required broad policy considerations. So each of the 5 policy forums had a federal co-chair from the United States, and that helped inform the national coordinators being EPA and Semarnat. And then there were regional work groups, which are multimedia and geographically focused and emphasized regional political health, public health, and environmental issues. They coordinated activities at the regional level and supported the efforts of the local task forces and coordinated with the U.S. and Mexican Indigenous communities. Each regional work group has 1 state and 1 federal co-chair from each country. And they influence, or they share information to the regional work groups, which then also information reaches the national coordinators. I apologize if I'm talking a little too fast. Question, thank you. Thumbs up, love it. Next slide. And now that takes us to our current Border 2025 program, the one that we are in right now. We are halfway through the program. This is the 5th binational program. With each program, we take what we've learned and use that to modify the new program and form it to better serve the communities in the border region. Our current program was signed in 2021, and it just feels like we're almost done with this program. But we can still change. It's not set in stone. We can always course correct. If things aren't working, we can improve them. Border 2025 is a 5-year program, has 4 goals, and it's a revised structure with regional coordinators replacing work groups. Each program has a framework document and a mission statement. This mission statement. So as a result of the partnership among federal, state, local governments, tribes in the United States, and indigenous communities in Mexico along the border, the mission of the Border 2025 program is to protect the environment and public health in the U.S. Mexico border region, consistent with the principles of sustainable development. It's a mouthful. We're still trying to do that. Next slide. What are the 4 goals? The Border 2025 goals are air, water, waste, emergency preparedness, and response. And these goals are in coordination with our task forces. Match up with our task forces. Ooh. Okay. So Border 25 focuses on a community-focused approach with regional task forces identifying priorities and a 2-year action plan that accounts for resources in project implementation. So in addition, Border 2025 has a strong emphasis on EJ and climate change. Key points: EPA defines environmental justice as the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people regardless of race, color, national origin, and income, with the respect to develop, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Yes, keep going. It might be going a little too fast, but I hope we're doing well. Thank you. So yes, regional task forces do match with our goals. In Region 9, we have regional task forces in California and Arizona, and they each have a co-chair in the United States as well as one in Mexico and a U.S. EPA co-lead. And yes, they meet to discuss issues related, well, to each of the goals, so air, water, waste, emergency preparedness, and response. And we are trying to get more tribal participation because we want everybody at the table to have a more wholesome approach and to actually talk about the issues and hopefully work towards improving the issues. Next slide. So yeah, some of the work accomplished so far. So a little to focus on myself. I am filling some big shoes. This role that I'm on detail is I'm filling in for Emily Pimentel, who was the co-lead of the work group. So this work group was developed 2 years ago, and I think we're trying to meet on a quarterly basis to kind of mirror what other work groups are doing, but every work group is unique. And I do understand, we all understand everyone's facing, there's so many competing priorities, but we're going to still be there. So when you have the time to participate in the work groups, we're there, the RTOC Border Work Group. There was an environmental youth forum, I want to say in the last 2 years, which I heard was very successful. We're trying to see if there is interest in replicating that, or when the time is right, continuing on that effort. There's also participation in regional coordination meetings, but California and Baja California, as well as Arizona, Sonora. We understand, again, competing priorities all over the place, but whenever you're able to come to the table and be there, share, and work through the issues, it's really appreciated because it's not one-sided. It's not just one group sharing what they think is wrong and how to solve it. It's a joint team effort. So participation in regional coordinators have seen tribal representatives be part of that and very highly appreciative. Funded projects. So the Border Program does not have a lot of money. Surprise. We do award funds to our sub-grantee, which is the NAD Bank. And then I want to say every 2 years, there is a call for proposals and selection of projects and what can be funded. These projects are rather small, but again, very meaningful. Awardees do what they can with the small awards. And now I'm spacing on the 2 projects. Actually, no, COCOPA just completed a project. Yes. You want to come up and talk about it? It's okay. I did not give you a fair warning. But it's a great project. And so do you want to say a couple words since I have you here on the spot? Yeah, come right now. We have somebody in the audience. Come here.
Hi, so I'm Jen. I'm the environmental director for the COCOPA tribe, and we just finished up our Border 2025 project earlier this year. We were awarded some funds to put together restoration design utilizing treated wastewater. And so, yeah, we finished that design, and we also did a water quality assessment of that effluent water. And I would say the project has been really successful because now we've been able to actually acquire some more funding to start construction. So right now we got some funding for compliance work. So we're almost finished with that. And then we applied for like $2 million to start constructing. So we're going to find out about that in November. And yeah, hopefully it all goes well. But yeah, this was a really great chance for us to get that design done. So big thanks to the program for helping us out with that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Please don't hate me for putting you on the spot, but great project. Was able to do a little bit of a drive-by a few months ago, and yeah, hoping things work out. And one of the other accomplishments was our Border 2025 leadership meeting, which was a virtual event held by the Office of International Tribal Affairs. And I will just pass it on to Camilo because he was able to report out on some of the priorities that tribes shared at a previous meeting with OIDA. And just it was a great platform to be able to share what priorities, issues, concerns tribes and Indigenous communities are facing in the border region. The next slide is the slide from the presentation. So you want to share a little bit more, Camilo?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, everyone. So as Marisol said, on October 12th, we had the leadership meeting for the Border 2025. And this was some of the issues that I brought up to our counterpart, which is drought, other problems that entail with the drought, pesticides, drift, which it's air quality, drinking water, brownfields, solid waste, and community development. During that meeting, I learned that our native communities are not so different to the indigenous communities in Mexico. They have environmental issues just like we do, and just like we're here. They're trying to find ways to eradicate those environmental problems. And just like Marisol said, um, sorry. Um, Also during the meeting, um, I noticed that it was not only Sonora, but there were other states from Mexico, and I noticed a few indigenous communities there, and that got me thinking. I go, if they're over there trying to fight their own battle, I said, I told myself, we can, but in order to accomplish that, we need to come together as a group. We need to wrap up these issues, and we need to let EPA know that this group is here to stay. We're not going nowhere, and that we're seeking funding to eventually help these tribes along the border with the issues with air quality. You know, um, I'm from the Quetzal Indian tribe, so we're located southwest of the border. So every time they burn tires in Mexico, we get all that on drift. So this is what it has me here. I want to make sure that we come together as a community, as communities, and do better for us, do better for our community members, do better for our natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilo. So he was able to share on that national platform priorities, issues, concerns of the tribal reps that have shared for Region 9, and those not all of those priorities are on the screen, but there was a list that was shared with OIDA, and that list has also been shared with our task forces to try and work on addressing those issues. And again, I know there's so many competing priorities out there, but anytime that you're able to participate in task forces and speak on the national platform, it's great to have headquarters here, because again, the thing that's always so never enough is the funding. So the headquarters told us, you know what, make that sound, make that request that you need this funding. And I know everyone, like I'm talking to a room that has already said this to me. So we're all on the same side and just making that noise that funding is needed. The funding that has been allocated to the border programs does go to communities that utilize every cent and do great work. So again, like Camilo said, we're not going anywhere, and we're all here as a team. So I appreciate everybody that's participating in the task forces, participating in the national program meetings and task forces, and it's a team effort. Next slide. So what we envision for the future, again, ideas. So part of the work group asked for ideas on how to improve, heard some great ones. One of the priorities of the RTAC work group, and I think as a program, EPA, is to be inclusive, work with tribes, but also Indigenous communities. And so far, trying to pick up that effort. It has been, it's an effort that's not new. And can be accomplished. It's work that we've seen in the past programs. So working on that. But any ideas now that you are trapped here in this room for the next 20 minutes? Part of this slide is to getting ideas on how to be able to have you participate, have tribes, Indigenous communities be more participatory. Time is always a constraint. Hay más tiempo que vida. I remember that. There is more time than life. But yeah, thank you for being here. No one wants to share? That's okay. You can come tell me later. The next slide has my email. You can email me directly. You can try calling me, but I don't think my work phone is connected just yet. Yes. I have recently moved from to the San Diego border office and into an office. So again, phone issues. But yeah, I think I might have sped a little bit through that presentation. No thumbs up this time. Okay, that reassures. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Questions? Thank you. Oh my gosh. Did I confuse anybody? I did. Corn. Wow. Tell me now. Questions? No? Okay. You're free. Any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. You were great, all of you. So I'm with the County of San Diego, and we have a new Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice, or OSEJ, which is a mouthful. And we have a lot of really great initiatives going on. We are really new, but one question I would have as a working for local government is that the uniqueness of San Diego and Arizona, we have so much uniqueness, from the diversity of people in our communities to landscape to our resources. And so one thing I love to celebrate in being a part of this work is just trying to collaborate with our communities. How do we share our resources? How do we all come together? So I really appreciate your presentation. And one thing I work on is water. So one thing I would love to hear, if I could stay in touch with you, or how could we continue to stay in touch or hear more about your work and continue to collaborate and have different ways to cross paths in the future?
Let's stay in contact. I don't work with water. My knowledge is very limited on what the water program does, but it's great. It's lots of important work. And someone I used to work with is in the back. Lovely working on PPGs, but I miss them. And yeah, let's stay in contact. Connecting you with our task forces. I know that one has been, the water task force in San Diego has been a little bit of a challenge. There is a little bit of a focus on, I think there's a national focus on the wastewater entering the Tijuana River and exiting in the beaches here in Imperial County. Yeah. But that is something that has been shared in the RTAC border work group. Why hasn't the water task force been meeting? We have been in contact with our water division, and there is an interest and effort to revive that and have it not just focus on, it's not that it's not important, but the Tijuana River it's a big project, and there are other water quality issues that need to be addressed. So let's stay in contact and see how we can revive it. It could be starting something with one of our staff in water, and maybe you collaborating and bringing up that task force, and starting with meetings and just talking. Yes, I hope I answered. Anybody else? Ideas? Team? Good.
Great presentation. I'm curious about your roles together as EPA co-lead and tribal co-lead, specifically you, Camilo. I think that partnership is really important, and it seems like it's working, it's successful. But can you talk more on what your role is?
Sure. So if I am approached by any of my fellow community members from the tribes along the border, um, with whatever issue is going on, I'll write it down and get it to Marisol so she can give it to EPA headquarters and start getting it addressed. So that's my role here. I'm the mediator between EPA and or the tribal communities. So any information and they might want to relate that to EPA, it can come through me. Of course, they can do it directly as well.
Yeah, being able to make those connections with if the issues and people and resources. Again, we don't have a lot of money in the border program, but we can connect you to other programs at EPA that could be of help, or even just resources and information. Information is power, I think. There are people online.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. So one of the challenges you mentioned was for funding. So my question is, do you help programs or projects help them navigate other sources of funding? How do you do so? Do you match funds? Or do you help them match funds with other programs?
I want to say, or if I could have my manager help me out. She's right behind you.
Hi, everyone. So for our Border 2025 program grants, we definitely do leveraging. So we have an RFP, I think Marisol mentioned, every couple of years, depending on our funding and how much we have. Sometimes we do a gap analysis. So we look at the goals and objectives of the program, and we look at what goals and objectives have we not met. And then we'll sort of do a more focused RFP and fund projects that way. But we do share a lot of information through our listserv, and I wanted to point out that we have a listserv. So if you go to our border website, and there's like a little envelope there that says sign up. We send a lot of information. So recently we've been having a lot of funding opportunities through the IRA program. There's a big one coming up, $2 billion, probably any day. It's supposed to come out in the fall. And we'll be sharing information through that as well. And then also participating in our task force meetings. There's always partners there. They're always sharing information. I don't know if it's Roberta that's in the front. No? Oh, okay. When you said, I thought, oh, that might be Roberta. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we definitely invite you to come to the task forces, participate, share information there. Tribal partners come to the task forces as well. And then also, if you ever wanted to present during one of the work group meetings, reach out to Marisol or Camilo, and they'd be happy to have you share information with the participants.
Yeah, I want to say at the summer RTAC, there was a request for an update on what has been happening with the Tijuana River, and we had our colleagues in Water Division give a lengthy presentation. Very informative. Might do a follow-up. Okay.
Jeremy Phelps with the Salt River Pima Maricopa Community. I saw you were talking about revised labels. Is that also including pesticide labels?
Perhaps. I don't have enough information, but I could look more into it. Revising labels.
Yeah, I just saw that on one of your goals that you had.
Let's go back.
Or I'm sorry, where it says English version. If you go back the other way. Now, is that what does that mean? Is that pesticide labels or is that something else? Huh? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it's hard to.
Oh, the English version. Oh, this presentation was given in both English and Spanish. So
Yeah. Well, you see the English part. It looks like it's part of your guys' goals. That's what I thought. But
sorry about
but
the
I know
confusion.
also a lot of times in other communities they also talk about the problems that they have with some of the workers trying to understand the English version of the labels. So I was wondering if pesticide safety and outreach and education is going to be a part of your next goals for your next border issues.
It can be.
So I
It
just
can be.
because I know a lot of times the California tribes and some of the Arizona tribes, they talk about, when the workers come across at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning and they start applying Land 8, which is restricted use, or pre-FAR, a lot of times the labels are different.
Yes.
So, with what they might read might be totally different. And, sometimes you might have violations if they're applying it wrong, but then they'll say, oh, I'm using it according to the label.
Yeah, it could be a misinterpretation of what is on the label. I want to say perhaps, but I'm not well versed in that. But if that is a priority, we can absolutely take that information and make sure that it doesn't just go away. That is a concern, and I want to believe it's a concern that has been raised in the past. But I will get you more information.
And for us, we're kind of running into that problem because in our community, we used to be a lot of cotton, hay, alfalfa, grass, and now we're going more to produce.
Okay.
So we're getting a lot of agricultural workers, field workers that are coming from Nogales, or even some farmers that are coming from Yuma. And a lot of times we have to make sure that we educate them and tell them that the farmer is going to have to help you help you with the translation of this in English.
Yes.
Because there's no translation for it in Spanish. And sometimes it can be a long process for that farmer to try to educate that person, just because maybe there's no translation for it in Spanish.
Mm-hmm. So then having something or a project to do that translation, maybe that could be something to speed it along instead of going through that very long process, or even having like a workshop to kind of in the language that is needed to address that issue. That could be a potential project. Let's talk. Sorry. Connect you to the right people. Question? Oh.
So I think you're raising a really important issue. And when the Border 2020 program used to have 5 goals, one of those goals was compliance activities, and labeling and outreach in this area was one of the activities under that 5th goal of the border program. When the program was transitioned to 4 activities, the one activity that was omitted was that compliance activity. That work does persist. Our pesticides program does a lot of outreach in terms of worker protection and trying to improve clarity around labeling and do a lot of outreach work directly with farm workers. But I really appreciate your advocacy and the suggestion that should somehow be reincorporated into the goals of the border program. And I think that there are some ways that we might be able to pursue some of that work under the existing framework. I think that we've got some latitude to scoop it under one of our existing priorities and see if there are some other ways to bring it back.
Jeremy.
This was also an issue that was brought up at the Tribal Pesticide Program Council. So a lot of tribes that are in California as well as Arizona, they're running into the same issues. And I think at that time, I forgot who's in charge. I think it was is it Fred Corey? I think he was working with headquarters on trying to figure out what they can do. But again, there's a lot of discrepancies between the Spanish labels and the English labels, and a lot of the applicators are coming from Mexico, or even the field workers. So I just want to know, like, are our labels going to be equal? Because we did, for us, we were able to solve that problem by just telling the farmer that he has to educate that applicator, and then we have to spend a little bit more time to make sure that he's applying it correctly. And we have to physically watch him, do his application, watch him do his mix and load. But by doing that, it takes resources away from our community, while we could be monitoring a restricted use application happening along a high school or around our elementary schools. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
I think it's really timely, and it's a juicy topic that is relevant to a number of tribal communities along the U.S. Mexico border. So I think that we can talk a little bit more about how we can advance it and whether there's a specific project that could be piloted that might help show people how important it is. Back to you, Max.
Gracias.
Marisol, we have another question.
Oh no, it's corn.
So, Jeremy, kind of want to address what you talked about with education. We use Africa at ITCA to provide WPS for the farms that we have. So she'll come out and she'll provide that training to the farmer and the workers. So you might want to ask her if she can provide that to some of your farmers that you have there. But we do get a lot of farmer workers that are not permanent. I think some of them are permanent, but like you said, some of them come and go. So that training always has to be provided, maybe quarterly or biannually, for them to be educated on what they're doing. And then going back to Marisol's question about how do you get tribes to participate? Well, I'll use myself as the nation as an example. Is the Waste Task Force reached out to me and asked me to provide training, or not to provide training, but to provide, if we could provide a presentation on our brownfields program and our waste regulatory program that we have with the tribe. So in the upcoming meeting in November, on November 8th, I have two of my programs providing a presentation and working on providing a third one once I get confirmation from Marisol about what they're looking for on water. So just trying to define what that presentation is going to be, and then I can help find those people to provide that training. So just reaching out to the tribes and asking them to provide those presentations by the task force, I think will really help get the tribes more engaged. And then maybe at the same time, they can also provide what's needed to them if they need more funding. What other resources are needed to them to help them complete their work.
Yes. I owe you information, and that's a plug for the upcoming meetings in what is 2 weeks. Is it November 8th for the Arizona Sonora? Goodness, the title is escaping me. I'm tagging in Anthony.
Hello, everyone. So it'll be November 8th in Douglas, Arizona, but it'll be hybrid. So there'll also be a Zoom link. And if you sign up for our listserv, we will send out another reminder very soon. It'll be the Arizona Sonora Regional Work Group Task Force meeting with environmental health and environmental justice session. So please join us.
Please join us. It's going to be a long day filled with many, many informative meetings. I attended in May and learned a lot. And yes, Corin, like you said, we're as soon as I get you that information, hopefully we will have somebody from your staff participate. And yes, we'll be reaching out to different tribal reps for presentations. The work that is working for you, it could be useful to somebody else. Modifying it a little bit because everyone is different. Other questions? We're done. Oh.
So with that, real quick, with your meeting in Douglas.
Yeah.
With your meeting in Douglas, so Indian tribes that want to attend, they can use their GAP funds or pesticide or air quality or, whatever funds they might have from EPA, they can use that to attend that meeting, even if it's not on their work plan.
I can't speak for pesticides or the other programs. I'm very my little background, I was a GAP project officer, everybody's favorite program. But yes, I did reach out to the tribal program, the tribal branch, and asked if GAP funding can be used. It is considered capacity building. So if it has not been included into your GAP work plan, you can reach out to your PO, your GAP PO, so that you can revise your work plan to reflect this upcoming meeting. And if you can be there in person, great. If you cannot, hopefully you'll attend virtually. I hope I answered that. Well, satisfied? Yeah, great. Thank you. Constant confirmation. Yes. Thank you. I love it. Thank you guys. I think we're over time, so I appreciate you staying.